the sun isn't rising for them that well. And there's so many Jimmys out there. That's really where I wanted to go. Jimmy is everybody else out there. I mean, he's everybody's child. There's plenty of people out there that have.
This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast. Was it a story you believe needed to be told, or was it?
Well, it wasn't that I heard about Gene that day. It was that I brought Gene up. As he was telling me what his program was with this anti-bully squad, I was like, now I'm feeling inspired to do something about that. Like, that is a story that really is important to tell. But I didn't mention anything about Gene other than his son had just done it. I didn't mention his name or anything. And then he said, Gene Hauburger. Like, I didn't say his name. That's why the chills went up. Like, I was like, yes. How do you know Gene Hauburger? And he told me him and Gene spoke pretty regularly.
Yeah.
Now, when you were first approached by Lynn at this high school reunion.
Vice versa. He approached me.
Really?
Was that John? Was that John?
Well, I don't know, but I was standing there with 2 drinks in my hand.
There's a high likelihood that I had a few.
Very, very high likelihood. Tell you the truth, I don't remember.
I was standing there. I had just gotten a drink for myself and my friend, and I couldn't find my friend. And I was looking in the room, and he walked up to me and he said, so I hear we have a mutual acquaintance. And I just went, oh my God, Gene. And that was the first time I'd seen him since the whole thing happened. And I just said, I'm so sorry about, Jimmy, and so sorry. And he was like, yeah, why don't we, I talked to Tom Peterson, and he said, why don't we sit down maybe and have a cup of coffee and see what you want to do? And I honestly, at that point in time, like I said, that was 2 years prior that I had this thought. And I didn't want to approach him. And I was like, I had no idea how to go about it or what I would do. And all I did when I sat down with Gene and Noreen was say, whatever it is, however it goes, it's going to be a journey for me. And however it comes out, I just want you to be assured that it's going to honor your son and, and hopefully do well.
It sounds like you approached Gene the proper way because, so let's take social media, for instance. There's a tragedy that happens. I love talking about this damn submarine. I just find it fascinating. Like these 5 rich people die in this submarine, and they'll post up all 5 people died. Somebody will come up, and there was a great joke by a comedian named Anthony Jeselnik, who's like a dark comedian. They'll come up, oh, prayers to the family. And what they're really saying with the prayers to the family is, don't forget about me. This, they try to put the spotlight back on themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Where you're trying to be a little bit more kind and more gentle, and this is a labor of love and not something that's about Lynn.
Right.
And she let it really unfold organically. You could have called them back then, and
there was no way.
Then it was just
that.
And what do you say? You can't just call. Hey, Gene, remember we went to high school together?
Yeah.
I want to do a documentary on your son.
Like we run into that issue too. Like we don't want to be exploitive to anybody for our own purposes. We love doing this show because it's very cathartic to us as well as the guests. But the guests, our goal is to get the guests to let it out and then have a little bit more room to maybe move forward in life instead of being stuck in that one little rut that they get into. Now with this particular project, when you had that cup of coffee, did you ever have that cup of coffee?
So I woke up the next day and he had messaged me on Facebook and said, I spoke to Noreen and we'd like to sit down and see what you want to do. And
it's not Gene. You gotta go to Noreen. Noreen, come on. We know who the boss is.
Go to the boss.
So I went over to their house and we sat down and we had a conversation. I told them what I just said here. And they said, all right, let's do it. And so I just went over the next week, I think, and interviewed them. And then it was a long time. I sat on it.
Yeah.
I mean, I just didn't know what to do with it. It was like really heartbreaking. The footage was heartbreaking. And I just didn't know what to do with it. And then Noreen was like, how's it going? How's it coming along? And I was like, it's coming.
Yeah.
And I knew I really had to get down to it,
Sometimes it's hard to go through something like that that's so dark, so deep and so meaningful and edit it
right
into something that can be ingested by the audience. I'm sure whatever's left on the cutting room floor, you're like, wow, it's so important. How am I going to cut this out? But it doesn't fit here or there. How did you judge that?
I wanted also for it to fit into like a period of a school period so that it could be shown at schools. So it had to be kept kind of on the shorter side, like 30, 40 minutes.
So how did that, like, did you have an end goal from the project? Like, what your target audience is? You sit down and really talk about that stuff.
My plan was, and I believe their plan also, was to get it into the schools and get kids to see it and get parents to see it. And
who's it more important for, Gene? Parents or kids?
That's a tough question, because I think all parents should see it. It's, I just think most parents have their head in the sand.
They might not even be aware of what's going on, really.
Exactly. Well,
I don't believe they are.
I mean, you said it. You didn't really realize the depths of, Jimmy's bullying.
Right. Knew nothing about it.
Yeah.
And I don't think most parents know anything about it.
And it's worse now what's going on.
I mean, I was talking to a teacher that teaches in the cottage. What's that
Cottage Lane.
grade? I don't remember the grade. The younger kids. And she told me it was brutal. The kids that young are brutal.
Yeah.
Third grade.
So imagine what's going on in the middle school and high school. It's not going to get better.
No, especially those kids are going to, if they're not, I don't want to say reprimanded, but if they're not taught at that age,
they're
going to
nothing.
keep going until they get in high school, and then they're going to be really nasty.
They do nothing to these kids. You're not allowed to do anything anymore. Right away, you get a lawsuit.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've done a lot of research on teen suicide and things of that nature. What, male or female? Like, what is heavier? Because, like I said, women are brutal, men are brutal, but men, some will fight back eventually, or they'll get to a point where enough is enough, and then they'll do something. Women, that just...
I think the men or the boys tend to go through with it. There may be, as many attempts by girls, but the boys are the ones that seem to be more successful.
So it's interesting. More attempts by females, but more successes... See?
Is it really
That's
a
not
success?
a success. But
Well,
yeah, that's a
You know what?
terrible word.
I've never looked up that aspect of it.
Yeah.
Whether more females or males take their lives.
Feminists are not going to like
I don't
that
know.
one.
I mean, statistics are changing every day, so
Yeah.
I don't even
And they're
want to be
getting-
quoted on that. But
I mean, one child is too many. That's
Yeah,
not where I'm
exactly.
going with that. I'm not trying to make a comparison. I am trying to give maybe the parents a little bit more of an understanding. Like, just because they're nice, dainty females doesn't mean that they're not brutal.
Yeah. I mean, I have some statistics.
I'd love to hear them.
Suicide is the second leading cause of death for children aged 10 to 24, which to me is amazing. 10.
Yeah.
10 years old to 24 years old. 18.8% of high school students reported having seriously considered suicide in the past year. 18.8%.
That's amazing.
8.9% of high school students attempted a suicide in 2020. And then between 2019 and 2020, there's been a 30% increase in ER visits for mental health reasons for children aged 12 to 17.
Well, if you had to quantify something along those lines with the nature, why is mental health issue going up with teens?
I think social media. I mean, that's my personal opinion. I think that this whole ball of wax can be boiled down to social media.
If you take something like, I'm not saying you're wrong, because social media, I think, plays a part in it, but then you take something like Columbine, where those kids were obviously mentally disturbed. Social media wasn't around there. Like, I have a theory, and that's where I'm going with this. My theory is there's no room for conflict resolution. That's something they don't teach kids.
I agree with that.
Yeah, they don't teach them how to put them face to face. The hardest thing after a disagreement or an argument, whether you're an adult or you're a kid, is to get in front of that person and speak to them face to face, look them straight in the eye. And the schools now are separating the kids after disagreements, or if there's bullying, they put them through this rigorous thing. Now, if there's even a hint of bullying, and all it does is make the kids angrier.
It makes the kids more pissed off.
Yeah. So again, I'm not saying social media, I'm not saying you're wrong with that, but like I said, when I was younger, you had a bully,
Right. You fought.
you fought. And you got your ass kicked.
Yep.
And guess what? If he was ready to fight tomorrow, you go back and you go do it. This documentary, and it's, if you had a vision for where it ultimately will end up, where do you think that would be?
I mean, I would love to see every school have it in their curriculum. I would love to see parent teachers associations having it, as a regular thing that every middle school parent and teacher has to see.
In school or outside of school?
I mean, they have the PTA meetings in school.
PTA meetings would be perfect for something like that too.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good venue for it.
See, me personally, I think you're thinking too small. I think a broader audience. There's plenty of these streaming services now.
For sure. It would be nice to have it on a platform as well. But I do want to see it become a school program, because that's where you have that audience there. Like,
It's a captive audience.
Yeah.
They have to watch it if it's in the curriculum.
I don't know if you saw the Netflix documentary Untold about Manti Te'o.
Yeah.
So
that
he was
great, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was unbelievable. So it has a lot.
I didn't watch it.
It has a lot to do with social media. He's the term catfish. If you ever heard the term catfish, where a man will pretend to be a woman, and that's what happened to him. And he was a high level Notre Dame football player, up for the Heisman Trophy, top of and he was catfished. They thought he was complicit in it. Thought he was in on it a little bit, and so whoever this person was decided, well, I can't do this anymore. Their conscience got the better of them and said, well, this person died, and just faked the death of this fake girlfriend. That same day, his grandmother dies, and he dedicates the whole season to that. And then it comes out that this was catfished, and it ruined it actually ruined his professional football career.
Ruined his image, it ruined his reputation, it ruined everything for him.
That was the year Johnny Manziel won the Heisman Trophy. He lost out on that. He lost out on first-round draft pick.
Yep.
Got picked at the very end of the second round, cost him millions of dollars.
For being a victim of something.
Yep.
For being a victim. And because it was all image.
Yeah.
It was all image. The repercussions of bullying go so far beyond. But one of the beautiful things, and I watched this documentary, one of the beautiful things is it really just tugs at your heartstrings and shows this young, beautiful boy who had a moment that he thought was never going to end. And at the end of it, I think what I got out of it is tomorrow, the sun rises tomorrow. I mean, would you, is that what you were going for, or did I just pick that out?
I mean, the sun isn't rising for them that well. And there's so many Jimmys out there. That's really where I wanted to go. Jimmy is everybody else out there. I mean, he's everybody's child. There's plenty of people out there that have a Jimmy.
Male or female.
Yes.
So, Gene,
Absolutely.
I'm going to ask you something that's a little tough. Say Jimmy's sitting right alongside of you, physically, not just in spirit, which I know he's always with you in spirit. And it was the day before this tragic event. What is something you think you would tell him?
That's a tough question. Do I know what he's going to do the next day?
Well, you know he's going through some trouble, and you have an idea. Actually, no. Let's play devil's advocate. You know what he's going to do the next day. And whatever comes out of your mouth right now will prevent that from happening.
It's that he's loved. People love you. And what's going to happen if you're not around?
Do you ever think Jimmy felt unloved by you?
Probably.
We say all the time, it's a permanent end to a temporary problem.
We talked a lot the night before.
False evidence appearing real.
He was upset the night before. We didn't know why. He wouldn't tell us. So I talked to him for a while. Then my wife talked to him for a while, and we thought everything was good. He was smiling by the end of the night.
Great actor.
Yeah.
He could have grown up to be one of the best.
Yep. Yep.
What's the other one? Hold on, pain ends.
Hold on, pain ends, which is another one of my favorite ones. Because there is a beginning and an end to everything painful in life. Although when you're in the midst of it, it's just so dark.
I just think if he would have gotten out of high school, he would have been fine. I just think high school did him in.
I've seen people go to college and blossom, and they're this awkward person. I mean, high school reunion where you two reconnected. How many of those people in there were the awkward, dorky,
You know,
geeky?
it was funny. I kind of was shocked because I really was not like, you probably went to all of the high school reunions, right?
Not all of them.
Well, a lot of them, I bet.
Yeah.
I went to none because I just didn't feel like, I don't really know if these people even remember me or why would I, they're not in my world anymore. But they were so nice and such different people from what, I'm not that there was people bullying me all over the place in high school, but they were different, and I connected with so many of them after that reunion on Facebook and stuff.
I'm friendlier now with guys I went to high school
Yeah.
with than I was when I was in high school. Back in high school, you were just a dopey kid.
I have to say, their group is so unique, though. That is a bonded group. I admire that about you guys. It's really special.
And it's funny because I try and tell my daughters, get that bond with the people you love, the friends, because they'll be around forever. I'm very lucky.
If you're lucky enough to choose the right ones. The problem in high school is everybody wants to be popular.
Yep.
And look at those popular kids 5-6 years down the road. They're pumping gas. They're doing whatever. They're not what they're appearing to be in high school because they peaked in high school. I told this to my oldest. My oldest, he goes, nah, Dad, I don't want to hang around with him. He's weird. I'm like, that's the guy you need to go with. Because that's the guy that's going to have your back when the shit hits the fan. Not the popular people. You're going to turn around and it's going to be tumbleweeds.
Yep.
You go with those people who you think are weird. But I'm going to tell you what, if you get close enough to them, you're going to find out that they're genuinely nice people. I did that. I did that with the kid I bullied. And I'm proud to say that he's one of my better friends in the world today. The shitty thing is I lost out on a 30-year possibility of having that lifelong friend like you have.
But you made amends.
I did.
It's a lot to...
It was more for me. But I still say, that son of a bitch forgave me. I just wanted a punch in the mouth. That's all
I wanted to see Jay punch you in the face so bad that day.
I did let him give me a
didn't
wedgie
happen.
over here, though, when we took a picture. Just to give him a little feeling of what it's like. So, Gene, anything you want to throw out there for a plug?
Just for Jimmy's foundation, the Jimmy Hauburger Memorial Foundation.org.
Jimmy Hauburger Foundation. We're going to put this all
Jimmy
in the show.
Hauburger Memorial Foundation.
Jimmy Hauburger Memorial Foundation.org.
You could just put Jimmy Hauburger Foundation also, I think.
I'm sure if you could Google it.
Yeah.
Again, there's not too many people with that.
Too many
name.
No.
Lynn, you want to throw out some plugs?
So I don't have a platform yet for the film, but,
So if
anybody
out there is looking,
they can contact me through my website, which is clickimages.ifp3.com.
You know what we're going to do right now? Andrew, I sent you that link to this little short clip, a little 5-minute clip. I want everybody to watch this. Get some tissues ready. Why don't you roll it?
My son Jimmy took his life on September 30th, 2015. On the morning of that date, I got a phone call from him, approximately 10:30, 11:15, saying that he loved me, which was very unlike him. I mean, he tells me he loves me, but never would call me. I found it a little bit strange, so I told him I'd be home in 15 minutes. He told me, I'm doing homework, you don't have to come home. And I said, look, I'll be home in 15 minutes. And I came home to find him.
Some kids posted a video of him being beaten up at a party that he was at, and that happened during the summer, but they held on to that video. And that night, they posted a video of him being beaten up, and they said, if you come to school tomorrow, we are going to beat you, snuff you out, basically, which I think means beat you up or, hurt you really bad. And they made him feel really horrible. He was devastated by that.
People that do the bullying had no idea the effect that it would have on my son Jimmy. There's no way to describe the pain that he was going through the night that was posted on, I believe it was Instagram. He was distraught. I couldn't even describe how upset he was after he saw that or found out that was posted. And our life was destroyed. Jimmy's not coming back. His sisters will never have a brother. They just don't realize what bullying does to people. They don't know the mindset of somebody. Obviously, things need to change having to do with social media. I believe social media it's got benefits, but there's a greater risk going on with kids. They're never safe. They have no safe place at home. 24 hours, they're bombarded by social media.
We're coming to the end of this thing. Hour's up already. And I always end the shows with the same question. Lynn, I'm going to start with you. You have witnessed, and I'm not discounting your own personal suffering, but you've witnessed a family go through some of the worst suffering possible. What do you think it's taught you?
You don't know what's coming around the corner, and just, make sure every day you're expressing your love, that you're aware of silly fights don't matter with your family. Just love each other.
Gene?
You got to live your life. You got to love your family with all your heart. Love your friends. Why does it take so long for you to tell your friends you love them? I mean, I think if we waited until we were in our 40s.
Because you're a guy.
Right.
Exactly. It's
right.
It's a
right.
type
but
A personality, macho man syndrome.
I love my friends. Love them. And my family. And you know what? That, to me, that's very, very important.
I left one thing out. Kindness. Be kind to everybody.
You never know what someone's going through.
Right.
But that's why I treat everybody the same, no matter what kind of mood they're in, because they don't know what I've been through. I don't know what they've been through. And exactly what Lynn says, be kind. You could change people.
What is it Mike Turner said? Being kind to people is absolutely free.
Yep.
Doesn't cost a dime.
Doesn't cost a dime, and you can make somebody's day. You could save somebody's life by being kind.
Like I said, you don't know what that person's going through in a regular day. You know, they could put up the strong front, but they could be really hurting inside.
I cannot thank you both enough for coming in today.
Thank you.
Gene, it's always a pleasure.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure.
It's a pleasure being here.
I'm so proud to call you my friend. Lynn, I'm very happy to meet you today, and
Same here.
I'm looking forward to this documentary. I'm going to plug the hell out of this because it's something I believe in.
Thank you.
From the bottom of my heart.
And really, I'm sure Gene and his family thanked you for doing it. I want to thank you for doing it too, because I think this is going to change a lot of lives.
We haven't thanked her enough.
You have thanked me enough.
I haven't thanked her right now, and I love her for what she's doing.
Well, I mean, it's a great thing you did. It really is.
It is very
Thank you.
humbling
Turning tragedy into a learning experience.
that she did that. Yeah, it's.
Love you too, my friend.
She has no clue.
Thank you both so much. And that's going to do it for this episode of the Suffering Podcast, The Suffering of Gene Hauburger, with Gene Hauburger himself and Lynn Manzione. See, I got that name with the vowel right at the end. And as always, let's think about all the stuff that we learn. You can't rationalize an irrational behavior. Healing is a process. There are no chance meetings. You don't know what's around the corner. But most importantly, live, laugh, love, and be kind. That's going to do it for this episode. Don't forget to go to popple.com, get your digital business card, put in the code TSP20 for a 20% discount. Follow us on all social media platforms. That's TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. Follow Mike at Mike_Failace. Follow me at Real Kevin Donaldson. And don't forget, you can always listen before you watch. All of our audio episodes come out on Sunday before they start airing on YouTube on Monday. And of course, follow the Suffering Podcast at the Suffering Podcast.
And comment.
We always answer. We always answer. And stop sending me those. Some people are starting to put ads in the comments. And we will see you on the next episode.